Okay, friends, this is the last shiur on Sefer Ahavas Yisroel. We'll see what we're going to do next. The learning was dedicated by the Harris family of Cleveland. Le'iloi Nishmas, Rabbi Moshe Hauer, Tei Nishmasoi Tzura B'tzar HaChaim. So I want to point out two things. One, I mentioned yesterday that the Chafetz Chaim said at the end of the Sefer, he says the truth is, a person has to think about himself and see that the Yetzer seduces him every day from to ignore and to appreciate the kindnesses that Hashem does for us. And then the Chafetz Chaim says, "V'amru Chazal, Eizehu Chacham HaMakir Es Mekomo." And I was very taken aback by this quote of Chazal, Eizehu Chacham HaMakir Es Mekomo, because Lemiyot Yediasi, it doesn't say anywhere in Kol HaTorah Kula, Eizehu Chacham HaMakir Es Mekomo. So the printer put in Look in Avos, Parak Vav, Mishnah Vav, and sure enough there it does not say Eizehu Chacham HaMakir Es Mekomo. In Mishnah Hey it says Torah is niknes ba'arbam u'shmeina dvarim, and one of them is HaMakir Es Mekomo. But it doesn't say the words Eiz. Now, what about Parak Daled Mishnah Beis? I was pretty sure it did not say there Eizehu Chacham HaMakir Es Mekomo. Sure enough, what does it say there? It says Eizehu Chacham Haloi Made Mi Kol Adam. So I did a search this morning. Where does it say in Chazal Eizehu Chacham HaMakir Es Mekomo? And I believe the answer is it doesn't say it anywhere. So I even looked in the Sefer Michlal Pisgamim, which is like a lexicon, a dictionary of all the statements of Chazal. We have 4 statements of Chazal, Eizehu Chacham. We have an Avos and an Avos Jamnasan, Eizehu Chacham Haloi Made Mi Kol Adam. We have the Zohar in Parshas Nasai, Eizehu Chacham HaMevin Davar Mitech Davar. We have the Sifri in Devarim, Eizehu Chacham HaMekayim Talmudai. And we have the Gemara in Tamid, Eizehu Chacham Haroya Es HaNoilad. Now, Reb Chaim Kanievsky has a joke. He says, what do you call a midwife? Right? It says, Shifrem Pua were Chachamais. Why? You ready for this? It's actually hilarious. You know why a midwife is called a Chacham or a Chachama? Because Eizehu Chacham Haroya Es HaNoilad. You get it? The midwife is called a Chacham or a Chachama because Eizehu Chacham Haroya Es HaNoilad. So, where does this come from? So I did a search, and I found in literally hundreds of Sfarim, K'moi she'amru Chazal, Eizehu Chacham HaMakir Es Mekomo, which is unusual because Chazal don't say it. There is no such Chazal. So, in one of the Sfarim, it says, Isa b'Chazal. What's the Chazal? They were willing to admit in the Sefer Or Zarul Atzadik and in the Sfas Emes and Chayei Sarah. So Chazal, this author admitted that Chazal refers to Sifrei Chasidus, but it's not in Chazal. So I looked up the Sfas Emes, and sure enough, the Sfas Emes says in Parshas Chayei Sarah that the Medrash says that when Eliezer said Eved Avram Anoichi, the Medrash calls Eliezer Eved Maskil, a smart Eved. Says the Sfas Emes, why was he smart? Because he was Makir Es Mekomo. Like Chazal say, Eizehu Chacham HaMakir Es Mekomo. He didn't try to extricate himself from being the Eved Avram. But the Lashon of Sfas Emes says, V'zehu she'amru Eizehu Chacham. That which they say, they. Now he doesn't say Chazal, they. Ubaruch Hashem Shematzasi Es Sho'ahava Nafshi, in the Sefer Hadrash V'Ha'iyun of the Reish Rav, he brings as follows. He says, V'chein amru Chazal Eizehu Chacham HaMakir Es Mekomo. And then he writes in parentheses, HaMaimer Hazeh Shagar B'fikal. This is a frequent expression that everyone uses. V'chipastiv v'loi mitzasev. I searched for it and I didn't find it. V'yesh ma'amorim rabim ke'ela. There are many such supposed ma'amorei Chazal hashigurim b'fi koil, that everybody frequently says, v'loy noidam akayram, and we don't know their source. Like I wrote in my Sefer Shas Chuvas Avnei Chefetz. Okay, interesting. But the Chafetz Chaim does say, Amru Chazal Ezo Chacham Hamakiris Makaymai. So while you're searching to find out when the Chafetz Chaim wrote this, you could also search, but I don't think it's actually words of Chazal. It means the sages, the wise men. But it doesn't mean Chazal in its traditional sense here. But going back to the point that we mentioned yesterday, why does the Chafetz Chaim end off with this point? That the Yetzer Hara makes us ignore the kindnesses of Hashem to us and to thank Hashem. And the Chafetz Chaim says, who is a wise man? Someone who recognizes his makayim, his madrega. Meaning, someone who's not a chacham, the Yetzer Hara could seduce you to think, I'm a big tzaddik, I'm a big lamdin, I'm a big yari shamayim, and therefore I don't understand why don't I have a better lot? But somebody who's a chacham and recognizes his madrega will realize that the chesed that Hashem does for us is bechesed, and we don't really earn it or deserve it. So like we asked yesterday, what is this doing here? What does this have to do with Ahavas Yisroel? So there are various approaches. I think my father and Rabbi Yehuda mentioned, earlier he spoke about not being jealous of other people. So this is in line with advice of how to avoid jealousy. If a person realizes what madrega they're on, and maybe they don't deserve as much as they think, that is maybe a tachbula not to be jealous. Dr. Pinchas said, B'derech Slabodka, that the Chafetz Chaim was telling us to recognize your own madrega, because that's a very important principle in Avodas Hashem. So I want to share with you, just as a way of ending off the Sefer, what I think the Chafetz Chaim is doing here. In the beginning of this chapter, the Chafetz Chaim says, he quotes a Mishnah Avos, don't judge your friend until you get limekaymai, to his place. Because sometimes you're going to ask your friend for a toiva. Could you lend me $5 million? Could you help me out? And don't judge him to his detriment. Don't say, he didn't fulfill my request because he's a bad person, because he doesn't like me. You need to investigate. Maybe he doesn't have the money. Maybe he needs to show as if he's a rich guy to marry off his children or to be able to conduct business. So, al tadines chavercha ad shetegel lemekaymai. Maybe if you were in his shoes, you wouldn't do the chesed either. So the beginning of the parag, the Chafetz Chaim is emphasizing the point that you need to have a realistic judgment of your friend. You think he did it to spite you, to hurt you? Don't judge your friend until you reach his place. What's his place? His madrega. If you would write ad sheyagel lemekaymai, what does that mean? In other words, lemekaymai lematzavai, until you reach his state. Because if you would be in that situation, would you be any better? So now the Chafetz Chaim says, the truth is, Eizehu chacham hamakir es mekaymai madregasai. When it comes to your friend, you say, I don't understand why he's doing this to me. I can't understand it. Why isn't he giving me the toiva? Pal, would you do the toiva if you were in his shoes, in his matzav, on his madrega? The truth is that this comes from a distorted self-evaluation. You evaluate yourself on such a high level that you would have done the kindness. So now the Chafetz Chaim says, no, Ezo Chacham Hamakiris Makaymai. You need to recognize your own madrega. You think you're such a Yarei Shamayim, you're such a Lamdin. And you know what that brings to? aside from the problem that it brought to in the beginning of the chapter, where you judged your friend unfavorably because you think if you were in his shoes you would have done the chesed, there's another problem with that. Because you judge yourself and you evaluate yourself on such a high level, so you always feel entitled and you never appreciate what Hashem does for you. If you would have a more honest evaluation of yourself, besides it would help you judge someone else favorably, it also would help you appreciate your lot in life more. So I would humbly suggest that this is a continuum of the idea that he mentioned in the beginning of the parak, meaning I think these two ideas go together. Al tadin es chavercha ad shetageh lemekaymai, and eizeu chacham hamakir es mekaymai. You need to be able to evaluate, really, don't judge your friend until you'd be in his place. And if you're a wise person, you need to recognize what makom you're in. So I think these two ideas go together. Maybe in the next couple of days we'll see some other ideas from the Chafetz Chaim that are mentioned in Sefer Shmiras Halashon about Ahavas Yisroel. Maybe that's a good idea. So I'll see if I could identify it. We'll put it on the group a little bit later. Okay, Hashem should give us siyata d'shmaya to engender ahava to every member of Klal Yisrael, and in that zechus it should be of merit to us and a merit to bring the geula b'karev. Shkoyach everyone. Have a good day.